Light a candle tonight and watch the flame. It points up in that familiar teardrop shape every single time. You have seen that shape your whole life. A candle, a campfire, a burner on the stove. Up, always up. But take that exact same flame 400 kilometers up and it does something that genuinely frightens NASA. It stops pointing up. It curls into a slow, glowing ball and it just floats there like something alive. And then it does the worst thing of all. It vanishes from sight while it is still burning. Why does fire turn into an alien thing the moment it leaves the ground? And why does that terrify the smartest people at NASA? Tonight, I am going to show you the strangest fire in the universe. And it is hiding right inside that little candle on your table. By the end of this, you will never look at a flame the same way again. Stay with me. To understand the alien, you first have to understand the ordinary. So why does a flame point up at all? It feels obvious. But the answer is not the fire itself. It is the air around it. Fire heats the air right next to it. Hot air is lighter than cold air, so it rises. As that hot air rushes up, cold fresh air gets pulled in from below to replace it. And fresh air means fresh oxygen, fuel for the fire to keep burning. Scientists call this convection. A constant upward river of air feeding the fire and shaping it. That river is what stretches the flame into its teardrop. The point at the top is just hot gas, dragged upward. So the shape of every fire you have ever seen is not really fire, it is gravity, quietly drawing the air upward. Now take gravity away, and everything you just learned quietly falls apart. In orbit, everything is weightless. Not because there is no gravity, but because everything is falling together endlessly around the planet. And in that weightless world, hot air does not rise. There is no up for it to rise to. Without rising hot air, there is no upward river, no convection. The flame loses the very force that gave it its shape. So what does it do instead? It pulls into the most balanced shape there is, a sphere, a tiny glowing ball of fire, hanging in the air, burning evenly in every direction at once. This is not a special effect, this is real. NASA has filmed it again and again on the space station. But here's where it gets stranger. That little sphere is not just a weird shape, it is a different kind of fire entirely. On Earth, that rushing river of air feeds the flame a constant blast of fresh oxygen. That is why our fires are bright, hot, and fast. They are gorging on oxygen every second, but the space flame has no river, no fresh oxygen rushing in. So how does it breathe at all? Oxygen reaches it the slow way, by drifting in, molecule by molecule, through a process called diffusion. Diffusion is painfully slow compared to a rushing wind, so the space flame is starved. It burns gently, weakly, patiently. It is dimmer, it is cooler, it is slower, and very often it glows a faint, ghostly blue. Think about that for a second. The most dangerous fire imaginable, and it looks like a quiet little blue marble in the dark. And if that is not unsettling enough, NASA found something far worse hiding inside it. In 2012, on the International Space Station, scientists ran an experiment called FLEX. They were burning tiny droplets of fuel in microgravity just to watch how the flames behaved. They watched the little flame burn, then shrink, then flicker out. The fire was gone, experiment over, or so they thought. But the sensors disagreed. The flame was gone from the camera, yet heat was still being produced. Something was still burning. The fire had not died, it had become invisible. NASA had just discovered something brand new. They called it a cool flame. A cool flame keeps burning through slow, low-temperature chemistry. Too faint to see, too cold to glow, but hot enough to be deadly. It burns at under 500 degrees Celsius, a fraction of a normal flame, slow, steady, and completely hidden from your eyes. Now picture this. You are an astronaut. A fire breaks out. You grab the extinguisher, you spray, the flames die, you relax. Except the fire never actually went out, it just became invisible, drifting silently through the air around your face. If that idea gives you chills, you understand exactly why NASA is so afraid. Subscribe now, because the next part is the real nightmare scenario. The story did not end in 2012. Those first cool flames came from burning liquid fuel droplets. Scientists wondered, could the same invisible fire appear with a gas? For years, nobody had seen it. Then on June 23, 2021, with astronauts running the test, it finally happened. A hot flame burned, then disappeared just like before. But this time the leftover heat reignited the gas as a steady cool sphere. It was the first time anyone had ever seen a steady spherical cool flame burning a gas. A genuine first in the history of fire. These cool flames burn slower, survive on less oxygen, and last far longer than the fierce fires we know. Patient, quiet, nearly invisible. A fire that does not roar, but waits. So fire in space is alien, invisible, and unpredictable. How do you study a monster like that without getting people killed? NASA's answer was bold and a little insane. They decided to deliberately set a spaceship on fire. On purpose. With big flames. The project was called Saffire. The trick was simple. You only do it when no humans are anywhere near. After delivering supplies, the uncrewed Cygnus would undock from the station and drift to a safe distance. Then, at least a day later, with the crew completely safe and far behind, NASA lit the fire by remote control. And these were not tiny test flames. Saffire created the largest man-made fires ever set in space. Earlier space fire tests had been the size of an index card. Saffire let the flames grow huge, so NASA could finally watch fire spread. For days afterward, the burning ship beamed home high-resolution video of every flicker and every spread. The experiment ran for years, all the way to 2024, and every fire taught NASA the same chilling lesson. Fire in space does not behave. It spreads in ways no one on Earth could fully predict, and that is the real terror. Now you might be thinking, this is all just clever science. Interesting, but not really scary. Let me change your mind. NASA's fear of fire was not born in a lab. It was born in tragedy. On January 27, 1967, 3 American astronauts sat inside the Apollo 1 capsule. Gus Grissom, Ed White, Roger Chaffee. It was only a rehearsal, a ground test. The rocket was not even meant to fly that day. They thought they were safe, but the capsule was filled with 100% pure oxygen. And in pure oxygen, materials that barely burn become explosively flammable. Down near Grissom's seat, a frayed wire sparked. In normal air, it would have been nothing. In pure oxygen, it was a catastrophe. The fire spread in seconds. The hatch opened inward, and the pressure inside trapped it shut. There was no way out. All 3 men were gone in moments. Grissom, White, and Chaffee. One of the darkest days in space history. NASA never forgot it. Every fire rule they have today was written in the memory of that day. And Apollo 1 was not the last time fire nearly won. 30 years later, it happened again, in orbit, with people aboard. February 1997, the Russian space station Mir. 6 crew members orbiting peacefully. Until they were not. To make extra oxygen, the crew lit a device called an oxygen candle. A canister that burns to release breathable air. But this one failed catastrophically. Instead of a gentle burn, it erupted into a blowtorch of flame. A meter-long flame roared inside the cramped station, and it was burning straight toward one of their only escape ships. Here is the nightmare. That fire blocked the path to one of the 2 Soyuz capsules that could carry them home. If everyone had needed to flee at once, there were not enough lifeboats left within reach. Do the math. 6 people, fewer seats. The crew fought the blaze with extinguisher after extinguisher as thick choking smoke flooded every module. The fire burned for around 14 terrifying minutes. The smoke choked the station for nearly 45. They survived. Barely. But for 14 minutes, a single fouled canister held 6 human lives in its glowing hands. So now you understand. When NASA talks about fire, they are not being dramatic. They are remembering the dead, and weightless fire is the most treacherous enemy they face. Let me put it all together for you. First, it can be invisible. A cool flame burns with almost no light, slipping past your eyes and even some senses. Second, it is unpredictable. Without rising air, flames creep sideways, branch, and spread strangely. They move in directions that defy every instinct you learnt on Earth. Third, you are trapped. You cannot run from a fire when you are sealed inside a metal can. On Earth, you escape a fire by leaving. In space, leaving means dying in the vacuum. The fire has you cornered either way, and there is no fire department 400 kilometers up. The crew is the only fire brigade, and there are no second chances. That is why a calm little blue ball of fire is one of the scariest sights in the universe. It is quiet, it is alien, and it is merciless. So how do you fight an enemy you cannot always see? NASA had to throw out the entire Earth fire rulebook and start again. On the station, they obsess over what can burn. Materials are tested relentlessly. so that as little as possible can catch fire at all. The air itself is kept at normal pressure, not pure oxygen. The deadly lesson of Apollo 1 is built into every breath they take. Sensitive detectors sniff the air constantly for the chemical fingerprints of a fire, hunting the flames that hide from human eyes. And when fire does break out, the response is brutal and clever. You do not just spray it, you starve it. They shut down the airflow, seal off a module, and cut the fire off from the oxygen it needs. Without a constant supply of fresh air, even the most stubborn, weightless flame eventually surrenders. Quietly, just as quietly as it came. So here's what I want you to do tonight. Find a candle, light it, and really look at the flame. Watch that familiar teardrop, pointing patiently up toward the ceiling, the way fire has always done for you. That shape is not really the fire. It is the air rising, pulled upward by the gravity that holds your whole life in place. Take that gravity away, and the very same flame becomes an alien. A glowing ball, a cold blue marble, an invisible ghost. The same chemistry, the same fuel, the same oxygen. Only one thing changed: the pull of the ground beneath you. That is the strange truth of it. So much of what we call normal is just gravity, quietly shaping the world around us. Up there, NASA is still learning to tame a fire that breaks every rule we ever knew. A quiet, patient, alien thing. And tonight, when you blow out your candle and the smoke drifts up, remember, up only exists because you are standing on the ground. Next time, I will show you what happens to water in space. And trust me, it is even weirder than the fire.